favor.
Bem, boa noite a todos. É muito mais fácil fazer aquelas provas todas do que estar aqui hoje em frente à família benfiquista. Antes de mais, agradecer ao Presidente por estar sempre do nosso lado. E eu, quando falo do nosso lado, do meu treinador, do Benfica Olímpico, das modalidades, porque não é fácil suportar e conseguir ter olhos e visão para as várias modalidades. Agradecer, como é óbvio, e como referi às modalidades, porque se não fosse elas, hoje também eu não estaria aqui. Este prémio é de todos nós. Hoje não ganhou o Fernando Pimenta, hoje ganhou o Benfica. Mais uma vez ganhou o Benfica, ganhou a família benfiquista. E queria deixar umas palavras. Eu ouvi atentamente o discurso do nosso Presidente, que muitas das vezes, quando estamos no topo, é quando nos tentam derrubar. Arranjam-se sempre forma de nos tentar deitar abaixo. Eu sei muito bem o que é isso. Infelizmente, muitas das vezes sinto isso. Alguma pressão dessa parte. Nos últimos tempos, vimos a nossa Telma Monteiro a lutar pela sua liberdade de poder competir ao mais alto nível e a fazer frente a uma federação. Eu já o fiz, sei aquilo que ela passou e aquilo que custou. Parabéns ao Benfica por continuar ao lado dela, a apoiá-la, a ela e a toda a equipa. E deixar aproveitar a deixa, e já que estão aqui alguns jogadores da equipa principal, vocês são um exemplo para muitos dos que estão aqui, para muitos dos que estão a ver em casa. Por isso, sempre que entrarem em campo, não pensem só que vocês estão a representar um clube, vocês estão a representar uma nação, vocês estão a representar outras modalidades, um clube, uma instituição grandiosa. Por isso, nem que tenham que comer a relva até ao final, até ao fim, de todos, o Benfica.
Obrigado, Fernando.
And it's that way that we start this 132nd podcast of O Cantinho Benfiquista, titled Happy Birthday. 119 years of this glorious club. Ups and downs. As always, your host, Mike. We got the full crew here tonight. Bill, Oscar, Kenny, Jason. Boys, how are we doing?
Great weekend,
feeling good.
friends.
Feeling good.
Yeah.
Going.
A very good weekend for us across the board, not just for us. Well, in terms of us, but everything else that happened. 119 years celebrated on Tuesday. We'll get to that. We got a lot to cover today. We got 60 to 65 minutes of action-packed conversation for you guys today. For those of you who are tuning in, I'm going to leave a comment. I'm going to leave a message in the chat with the link. If you want to join us, we welcome you to join us. Jump in with audio or video, whatever your preference is. And we'd like to hear 119 years, right? What are your fond memories of this club, right? What started your appreciation for this club? I know some of you may be shy. If you want to join us in the chat, that's fine as well. But if you're feeling adventurous and you want to join the conversation, the link is in the chat. And just jump in. We want to hear from you. But either way, join us in the conversation in the comments and be part of this conversation and make it interactive for us. We will talk about Vizela 0 Benfica 2. Difficult game. Again, we'll talk about the 119 years, the Gala that happened yesterday, and some of the moments that stood out. We'll talk about Benfica Famalicão coming up on Friday. The month of March as well. Our fixtures, we got 4 fixtures, 3 at home, 1 away. We'll look into that. And before we get started, social media, as always, give us a like, give us a share, give us a follow before we get started here. It doesn't cost you anything. It takes you 5 seconds. In a blink of an eye, we've now surpassed 31,000 followers on Facebook. That's about 2.5 or 2,500 in the last month. So we're climbing steady. YouTube has kicked up for us, almost at 2,000 on Twitter. We're nearing 700 on Instagram. So we're doing great things. Hopefully you guys tuned into the interviews this week with Mauro and Álvaro Magalhães. Some good insight there, some good content. If you haven't, check it out. It's on our various platforms. We do have some others lined up. We're just waiting on some authorizations from the club to be able to broadcast those, but there are a handful that are sitting in our back pocket waiting to be released. We just need the authorization for them to happen. E para a malta que esteja a ver em português, esteja à vontade de participar aqui nesta nossa conversa. Hoje é o nosso podcast em inglês, mas todos percebemos português, por isso deixem os vossos comentários na caixa de comentários e iremos falar sobre elas. You guys can hear me fine?
Yeah.
Okay.
I know my end, yeah.
Might just be you, Kenny. If you want to just jump in and come back in. Quickly before we get started, Red Baron says, my great-grandfather played for this awesome club 1919 to 24. It's in my genetics. That is awesome. That's good to hear.
For the 18?
Yeah, let us know, Red Baron. What was his name? But regardless of what team he played for, an athlete that played for the club, that's pretty cool. And a long time ago. Very different times, right? But he was part of that first pioneering of this club, right? 1904, he was pretty fresh as it related to this club. So, see where we were and where we are today. Pretty big difference. Nick says, I'm listening to you guys on my drive home from work. My first memory that made me a full-blown Benfiquista was in the 93-94 season with that 6-3 game against Sporting. Yep. Speaking of that 6-3 game against Sporting, João Pinto was at the Gala yesterday, a guy that has a lot of history with the club. It was good to see him there. I know Jason was very excited. And we posted the video of João Pinto at the Gala, and I must say, of all the videos we posted, that was one of the ones that got a lot of views. You don't see him around the club very often ever since he was pushed out of the club, but it was good to see him there. Red Baron says there was only one team back then. It makes sense. Nick says, I begged my dad for a João Pinto jersey after that game. I'm sure a lot of Benfica fans became Benfica fans because of those João Pinto years and because of what he meant to the club. Red Baron says, o nosso menino douro. It's funny seeing some comments on social media. People are like, why is he at the club still? Why was he there? He traded. But like, guys, he was pushed out, right? Like he wanted to stay. Yeah, he was pushed out.
Most guys that were there did not do the whole career there. So
it was interesting to see some of the comments on social media. But again, you're gonna have fans on both sides of the coin. Kenny, can you hear us fine now?
It's coming in choppy, but I'll figure it out.
All right, you sound good though.
You sound loud.
Nice and clear. Yeah, you sound nice. Get started here. Vizela 0, Benfica 2. Tough game, like I said. Starting 11, there were some changes. Maybe some you expected, some you didn't. We had Vlaco in the back, as always. Ba, Antonio Silva, Otamendi, Grimaldo, as usual. João Mário, Tino, Auschnitz moved to the middle. Guedes comes in, Neres comes in, Gonçalo Ramos up top. No Chiquinho in the starting 11, something that the team had been used to over the past couple of games. I felt that we noticed that difference, even though Auschnitz was back in that middle role, but I just felt like he gives us a different element playing wide. I know Kenny and Jason were listening and sporadically tuning in. So I'll start with you, Oscar. Thoughts on this game, and were you surprised that Guedes comes in and Chiquinho goes out?
Was I surprised? No. And the reason I wasn't surprised is because we needed to involve like a Guedes inside in this game. We needed a speed. We needed somebody that can, because they're going to be closed down back there, right? Vizela is a team that hasn't conceded many goals, especially against the top three teams. I think the only if they lost was by one goal. Like they don't concede many against the top teams, right? So we needed somebody to kind of break that down, and Guedes is a good option. So I totally understand what Roger's trying to do by putting Freddie in the middle and moving Guedes up top. It kind of was working out. If you saw the summary of the game is we had a few chances at the beginning. We could have gone up 1-0, and then they came and had a few chances. They could have gone up. So it was like a very close game in the first half. What surprises me is the one that they hit the crossbar and then the rebound to the moon. So like the game could have gone either way in the first half. And then he made changes a second half, and it kind of worked out in Benfica's favor. Benfica kind of dominated the second half a little bit more. We scored the goal. Actually, before that, we scored the goal in the first half. João Mário scored a goal, another big John, coming through 38th minute. And now that came from Ged's breakaway. He was breaking through the
deflection.
middle.
Yeah, guy cleared it off.
But he basically took it up.
He roasted two guys. Yeah,
correct. He took it up the field, and then obviously Neres did it the rest and assisted João Mario.
Yeah.
So it was a good play. A little lucky on the deflection, but it was basically, I think, what Raja wanted to do: break him and the counter on those plays. And then obviously, like, the red card helped for us to finish off the game. And we could say the Bop play was iffy when it came to.
We'll get to that.
I don't. So you don't need to talk about it because I don't.
No, we'll get to that. We'll get to
and
that.
And then obviously the PK is a PK. Did Grimaldo kind of was what the hell is the
PK? Was
Grimaldo. Against Grimaldo, yeah.
Right. It was it wasn't.
He cut it back. He did. He cut it back, and the guy took him out.
So Grimaldo, yeah, he took him out, but like that to me, I think he was waiting for that to come, so he kind of fell. But obviously, that's a PK. He touched him, he cut it back, he didn't touch the ball, so PK, foul. There's nothing to talk about there. The only one they have to talk about is Bot. That's it.
Bill, what would you add to what Oscar just had to say?
Yeah, and I agree with what Oscar said, and I think with the changes to the lineup, I think we've seen Neres slowly get back into that form that we saw pre-World Cup, pre-injuries. So I wasn't surprised to see him come back into the lineup, considering Rafa's had some issues kind of getting back up to speed after the World Cup and after his few injuries. And then with Geds, I agree. I think games like this where the team's going to sit back and kind of play tight, close their blocks, park the bus a little bit, and they're going to look to hit you on the counter. You're going to need guys that are going to be able to work in those tight spaces, going to be able to kind of attack what Neres does well and Geds does well. You get the ball and attack, and not really worried about keeping possession and slowing the pace of the game down all too much. And as far as the goals, the first goal, great counterattack on our part, right? Off a corner. Geds just roast two guys, and we got a bit lucky with the deflection, and then Neres does well to cut back and find João Mario. And then at halftime, I think the second half, they took out their forward.
Schmidt.
Yeah, he was giving us issues.
Yeah.
I think when they took him out, it kind of changed the game a bit, and that's when we kind of settled into how we've been performing the second half of the season, where we might not be going all out, but we're controlling the game. We have the result. We don't need to push it all too hard, and controlling the pace of the play. And I think when Chiquinho came in, he helped to do that. Unfortunately, got injured. And then, their red card is legit PK, and then done deal. I think the only, like Oscar said, the only controversy in this game is going to be that potential PK that they were calling for.
Yeah, and again, I think it was. I'll be completely honest. I thought it was a not a very good performance overall. But those are the games that could make a title. Jay, I'll pass it to you. Right. I know that you didn't get a chance to watch the entire game, but an away game against Vizela, right? And I feel like typically these games, majority of the away games in the Portuguese league are always going to be tough, right? Teams are going to be more organized. They're going to try to sit compact, not much space in between lines. There's 12 games remaining in the season. Do you see this being kind of like a blueprint going forward for these smaller teams to try to, okay, let's see what benefited them and how, because again, I'll be completely honest. I don't think Benfica coming away with this W, I think, is what we like to call a Estrelinha, because I'll be honest with you, I don't think that we deserve to win that game based on the run of play, but you guys may have different opinions. But do you see this being, with 12 games remaining, kind of, right, a blueprint, right? Like, let's pick this up and see what Vizela did, and let's repeat it in our next away games against Marítimo, which typically is a tough place to go play as well.
Yeah, I didn't really get to see the game too much, but I heard the second half on the radio. I was trying to watch the game where I was, but my dad kind of took over the phone while we were at the table. But from what I could tell, if how can I put this? Like, I just think that I think you're right. This might be the blueprint for a team, for any team to follow. It didn't seem like a game that we dominated from what I heard on the radio. I thought that Vizela was creating some opportunities as well overall.
I mean, they had more actions in our box, 23 against 21. They had more corners than us, 6 against 5. We had 11 shots. They had 9.
Yeah.
We had 6 on target. They had 3.
So, yeah, I mean, to answer your question, I do think that maybe some teams follow suit and kind of look at what Vizela did to us and kind of follow. But again, Vizela was also a team that I was kind of skeptical about. It wasn't I think last year, I think they created problems to the big teams. And even this year, they're creating problems for the big teams as well. I don't know what their record is against them, but I feel like the games are always tight.
They're very tight. We beat them with the João Mário Piquet in the 90 plus 12.
Yeah.
And at home.
The first round, yeah.
97th minute, yeah.
So,
Porto beat them 2-0 in this last game.
To me, games like this is where you kind of make or break your championship run. We were on the good side this time, and we were able to get the W. But there's probably, I don't know if we're ever gonna. I hope we don't drop any points, but these are the type of games that if we get the result, like you mentioned, we kind of move forward and just be happy and move on. Away games, to me, till the end of the season is going to be always tough, no matter who we play. It's like they always play Benfica. Anytime Benfica plays against a smaller team, I feel like we always get their A game, regardless. We're Benfica. They want to beat us. They're a small club. Like, just beating Benfica could probably be their championship, right? But yeah, I mean, the way I did, like I said, I didn't get to see the game from what you guys are describing and from what I heard on the radio. It looked like it was a tighter game than what the score says, and I just hope that I'm glad that we kind of pulled it off and made it through.
Yeah, I agree. Kenny, I'll pass the ball to you. There's been some questioning of Alexander Ba. Right, he came in as an unknown from Sparta Prague, Czech Republic, Czech Republic. I think, yeah, that's how they prefer to be now. I was going to say Czechoslovakia, but that's way back. Right. So even though the Portuguese league is not an elite league, right, we would like to say that the Czech Republic, their league isn't better than the Portuguese league. Right. We had Gilberto. Ba was the bench player to start. He held on to that role. Gilberto's now, I think the game that he played the other day, because Ba got the red card, was the first time he had played or started in like 2 months. So he had been out for a long time. We'll get to the situation a little bit further down the line, but right, Ba again makes a decision that I think comes with an experience, right? He's a young player. He's eager to get in there, get into a tackle, but there's been some criticism of, right, like I've seen comments on social media, I prefer Gilberto over Ba. One, right, you saw the tackle that he had against Pizzi against Braga, which stupid decision, right? Lack of awareness. Do you agree with that sentiment of like, right, we know what Gilberto gives us. We've now seen what Ba gives us. Do you think that role is for Gilberto today, or do you still feel comfortable with Ba there?
No, I still feel more comfortable with Ba. I think, I look at it this way, right? When a new player comes onto the team, you expect a little bit of an adaptation period, but I think with Ba, it's been the opposite, right? I think he fit in quite nicely right away. And now it's middle of the season and he's having maybe a bit of a slump, or, some inexperience is showing up. But I think he gives us more offensively, and I don't think he's been that bad defensively. Yeah, that challenge against Pizzi was, pretty, dangerous, inexcusable, whatever you want to call it. But I don't think he meant any harm, right? I think it was just one of those plays that he just caught him. Correct. And it was unfortunate, and he knew it, and he got the red. So I think those things are going to happen. It's a small sample size of these bad moments from Ba. I think there's a bigger sample size of what he can offer, and I think he's been a very consistent player throughout the season, and I think a pretty large part of the success that we've been having.
Yeah, and I mean, he's going to have his ups and downs. And again, he's a young player, new league, different language, right? There's a hell of a lot more pressure playing for Benfica than there is playing for Sparta Prague. I'll open this up to you guys, whoever wants to go. But Nick says here, I personally prefer Gilberto over Ba, even though Ba is better going forward. And he says Gilberto seems to have a better connection with Neres as well. Again, I think I'll jump in quickly before the guys jump in, but I think part of that connection with Neres may also be because of the language. They speak the same language, right? It may help with their adaptation, but do you guys agree with Nick's sentiment here? Or do you guys agree more with Kenny?
I can start with this. To me, I think it's one of those things, like, how at the beginning of the season, we talked about, did Gilberto do anything to lose the spot, right?
Yep.
And he didn't. Last year, we I think it was unanimous that we voted Gilberto to be one of the best players for the season.
Yeah.
Right. And then he started this season, and we knew it was Gilberto's spot to lose, right? We knew that all it takes is one mistake and Ba would jump right on it, right? Because I think Roger likes Ba better for his style of play. So it was more like, right, I can't really take out Gilberto right now because he hasn't done anything wrong. And as soon as you put in Ba, and Ba has a few good performances, like, it's tough to take him out, right? So do I think Gilberto offers more to Benfica? I think this should be more shared time played. And when Ba has a mistake like he did against Braga, I think Gilberto deserves a place. Hey, okay, now Gilberto, it's your turn. He fucked up. It's your turn to go for it.
But how do you think that would do to his?
But Gilberto played like shit.
He did, but how long? He has been 2 months since he's played.
Yeah.
I mean, we talk about somebody hasn't played and comes in, like we talked about Ramos last year. Oh, he doesn't play consecutive games. That's why he's not scoring.
Yep.
Then that's the fact. Like, Gilberto hasn't played in 2 months. What do you expect to come in and be a superstar? No. So I think it's more like, I think Roger should be rotating him a little bit more because Gilberto hasn't done anything to lose his spot.
Yeah, so I kind of want to piggyback off Oscar. I kind of agree with him. I do think that Gilberto probably deserves a little bit more playing time than he has been given this year. If we get the Gilberto that we got towards the end of the season last year, I'll take that all day. Because I remember in the beginning, we were making fun of him like he was out of gas by the 60th minute, like he couldn't run up and down that sideline. But then he got his legs underneath him, and towards the end, he was like a machine. He was awesome. But I kind of agree with what Oscar said. I think a little bit more rotation on that, so both players are fresh. I think Gilberto might be a better defender than Ba, but I think Ba is a better going forward than Gilberto overall.
I agree.
So it's kind of pick your poison, right? Like which way do you want to go? Roger likes to play a little bit more attacking football, so I think that's why he goes with Ba.
But Jay, don't forget
the speed going down that right side, so that helps too.
And Jay, don't forget, we said Gilberto didn't have a good game, but he also had a goal and an assist.
Yeah, I know. That's
that's going forward. That's not even defending. That's going forward.
I didn't even think of that.
Absolutely right.
Yeah.
To be honest, without those two, like that goal and assist, like you really did.
We don't know. We don't know if we win this game.
But he did get the stats, right?
Yeah,
worst player on the field, and I think last podcast I picked him as my MVP for the game.
Yeah.
Seriously. I didn't even think of that. Good shout.
Yeah.
I totally forgot he scored and got an assist, and he didn't play that great. So that's a good point, Oscar. Overall, a huge win. I wanted to get your thoughts on that Odysseus moment, and that Tony back pass. Where do you guys fault that? Is it a Tony issue? Does Tony get that rid of it? Does Audi have to? In my opinion, I think he should have just headed it down the line and gotten rid of it. Instead, he tries to chest the ball that's spinning and almost messes everything up. Fortunately, Vizela, I don't know how the hell they missed the guy that had the rebound, like skied it over the net. I don't know how the hell he didn't put that on goal, but what do you guys think of that? And I know, and I bring it up because Audi's been a player that's been criticized significantly, right? He's got his weaknesses. He did make a save or two in that game as well, but that could have been a fatal moment. And at the time, I believe it was still 0-0, but any feedback on that? Anyone can go, whoever wants to go.
To me, I put that on on Tony, right? Odie could have headed it, but that's like a floated ball. How much power can he, like a keeper, actually get on a header to be able to actually put it anywhere? Like,
and keepers don't put it ahead. So like
exactly.
It's
So
a
like
huge mistake.
Like you're putting your goalie who isn't a field player, right? Like there's very few goalies that you're going to play a ball like that back to and you feel 100% comfortable, right? Like Ederson might be the only one.
Yep.
And so you're playing that ball back. He has limited options what he can actually do. I think in that case, like if it's Otamendi, I think Otamendi's just hitting as hard as he can, like just blasting it out and just putting it either out for a corner or like trying to get it out for a throw and just hit it as hard as you can, put it out of the fucking stadium type of thing.
Yeah, Kenny, I want to get your thoughts as a defender. I don't know. If you saw the play. I don't know if you saw the play, but I'm going to ask you in general. You have a goalkeeper at the back that I think we all know is not good with his feet, right? And you're in a situation where you're in the box. At what level of confidence do you need to be at to feel comfortable playing a ball back to the keeper, especially a high ball, right? Like he didn't play it to his feet. It was height, like head high, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like as a defender, are you just, let's fucking clear this out and don't play around? Or like, what has to go through your head to like, I'm going to play this ball back high spinning to a goalkeeper that already isn't good with his feet. How good must he be with his head?
Yeah, no, I think at the professional level, I'm sure you have to have, some sort of confidence on your keeper. But if you're asking me, I'm not passing anything back to like our good friend Biggie. Like if that's, and I've learned my lesson the hard way. So no, but these guys are pros, so it's a tough call. I did not get to see the play, but I'm definitely the type of just get the ball out, just clear the shit out of it and don't make a bigger mess than it has to be. But I'll take a look at the play after. I'm curious. I haven't even been able to see the highlights. I've just been too busy with other stuff.
I get what he's trying to do, right? Like he's trying to just keep possession. We get the ball, play it back. He plays it out to Alti, and then we're right back down with the Vizela's throat. But the ball, that type of ball you're playing back, just
he didn't mean to kick it that way back. He meant to pass it, and it came out wicked bad. So
the ball was spinning a lot.
It's a mistake by Tony, and if anybody wants to say I'm sorry, it would have been Tony for that if they scored that goal. Yeah. So it was a mistake on Tony. Period. Like you cannot pass the ball. You almost blasted a ball at the guy's chest. Like you cannot do that. Like don't. You're not trying to score your own net. So if he meant to do it like that, then he has to go back to the B team and guard because that's not how you do it.
So I didn't see it, but like, was it towards like the actual goal?
It was in the goal.
He was Alti was like dead center,
right in the middle of the goal. Yeah,
I'm not a defender, but like I think anything in the box you got to clear up.
Yeah, it was very, very odd.
So let me ask you guys this. So similar to the bot conversation, is anyone putting in question Tony's spot?
No, because we don't. I'm not saying because that's not. To me, it was like that if they had scored that goal, then would have blamed Tony. It would have been a result on Tony. We already had that experience with Bot. We lost the Taça de Portugal because of Bot.
But do you think they actually? I don't think because of the. How do I put this? Because of the hype around Tony, if that ball goes in, I think the fault 100% falls on Audi by most fans over Tony because of Audi's been criticized and Tony's Seychelles guy. He's young. I would be willing to bet that blame would have fallen.
It would have been divided. But then you'd be like this: who's the best goalkeeper? Who's the best goalkeeper in the world? People say Courtois, right?
And he made a mistake. Yeah, and Allison made a mistake.
Hey, go check out what Courtois did against Liverpool and see.
But those were both self-inflicted wounds.
Right. But
that didn't come from a stupid pass. Yeah.
But Audi would have been absolutely not his fault, and he probably would have taken the blame because he's the bombu.
And this is my point, right? I think like the main squad, the main Benfica starting 11 has had more success than faults, and I think. These guys are bound to make mistakes. I think Boz made a couple, but I don't think it. Like, I really do think he's he's the future right back if he sticks around
I
of Benfica, and I don't think his position is in jeopardy. And I know we talked about Gilberto, and he didn't really deserve to lose his position, but like the way our team is playing, if you get a chance to get a spot on the starting 11, you have to take it right away. You can't. There is no more excuse like, oh, he hasn't played in 2 months, like he has to pick it back up. Like, no, we're so hot that like if you got an opportunity, you got to make the most of it right away. Or if not, that's it. Like we're gonna go back to, and that's what I like about Schmidt is because I feel like we have a base, and I like having that base. Like these guys are, we've now become like, okay, we know what we're gonna get. Versus the last couple of years, it was like up and down, up and down. We didn't know who. Let's swap. Let's figure something else out. This, I like the base.
I know, I agree with. I like the base as well. I like having a starting 11 that you can rely on, right? And then just fitting in the players here and there just to keep them fresh, right? But if a player gets comfortable knowing that he can make mistakes and not lose a spot, that's when everything goes downhill. So to me, it's like holding them responsible. Like Gilberto right now can probably take a shit on the field and he probably won't lose his spot, right? Because his spot is secure. Like he doesn't. Not Gilberto. Grimaldo.
Grimaldo.
Right. Grimaldo can absolutely just take a dump on the field and not lose his spot, right? But when it comes to having a backup like Gilberto, who did everything right last year, and everybody praised him for the regarra, for the rasta, for all that, then it's good to keep on his toes. And if you make mistakes, you might lose your spot. Not like, oh, you can make mistakes, but because I trust you to be the future, you can do whatever mistakes you want.
Yep. No, I agree.
Yeah, but I think it's become clear with Roger that even when he rotates the squad, that back line's never changing. Like he's not rotating. Good. He's not
like
right.
We've always learned, right? You don't touch the back line unless you have to.
He's rotating. It's up top and occasionally the middle, like this one with Freddie going into the middle.
How come you guys don't complain about Pep Guardiola? He changes his back line every other game.
I know, but what we're saying
is
idiotic. I'm not complaining about him because I'm not a City fan.
We also don't have like millions of dollars.
Yeah, seriously, we don't have $1 billion back line.
Have money to use.
This is another conversation we should have.
Nick says, if I'm a Benfica defender, I would try my best not to play any back passes to Audi. He's not very good with his feet, nor is he good playing a ball that's in the air.
I mean, if it's on the ground, it's one thing. Like a back pass on the ground, it's one thing.
You're asking for trouble.
When he's the ball, like the way he played, like the ball's bouncing, he's trying to play it one touch back. Like it was a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, I agree. Moving on. We had João Mário scores 2 big goals again. This guy just could not stop scoring. That first one, he like passed it into the goal.
Good finish.
He doesn't like kill the ball. He doesn't try to overdo it. Shout to Geds for getting the ball up the field. Got fortunate on the bounce. Ned's again, like his vision, he just picks the right passes. He figures it out. And
Ned is in form now.
He's definitely. I mean, we criticized, right?
Who do you start? Maybe we'll get to that.
So that was going to be my question, right? Is
he's back.
He makes that pass. João Mário scores that goal. For me, a goal that Vizela could have been up before that goal. But I want to touch on the Ned situation, right? Ned is starting to now come back into the form, right? We had criticized he had seemed to, slow down after his injury. Now he's coming back into form. You got Geds in there. Rafa was on the bench again, right? So Rafa's still lacking some form, right? João Mário's untouchable. He's not coming out of the lineup. Chiquinho came out of the lineup, moved out to central.
So it's good.
Right? Chiquinho's now out. They said it's not long-term, but he's definitely not playing against Famalicão. Again, we'll ask this question again, right? Neres is now coming back into form. Who do you sit, right? Rafa sat out this time, but it's because he's not in form. When he's in form, who the hell do you sit?
I think you rotate.
I know, but who do you sit right now, though? Who do you sit against Famalicão?
Like, what do you line up with against Famalicão?
So this week, I would probably sit Rafa again, to be honest.
Really?
I would. With Neres and Gids are playing, I would start those two. That's just my personal opinion.
And that's Oscar's struggling over there because he likes these guys.
Those two, Rafa and Geds are my favorite players in Benfica. Right?
Oscar's sweating. He doesn't know what to do with himself.
I can't sit.
I know what Oscar does.
I know what I would do.
He takes
but
Ramos out
but then
and puts Geds on top.
Jay will probably jump through the screen and fuck me up. So I
That's fine. You're gonna take our best goal scorer.
So we know.
Say again. Say who's the best goal scorer?
Second best.
Okay, thank you.
Jean-Marie.
Count the overall goals. Who's got the most overall
Yeah.
goals?
Okay,
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Before I go to you, Oscar, I'm gonna ask Kenny. Kenny, what would you do in this situation? And you can give me what you would do as a fan, but what would you then do as the best interest for the team?
Well, I don't know what I actually have a. It's a good problem to have. I don't know. I feel like I'm looking at more as who's gonna do better for me coming off the bench. I almost want to look at it that way. And I think I don't think Rafa is a player that coming off the bench is gonna give you that. Like I think by that time he's not gonna just be up for it. I think Neres or Gids might have more off the bench than Rafa. So I might keep it the way it is. I like the way Gids has been playing. I think he's kind of sparked us a little bit, and have Neres come off the bench.
And Neres, the last couple of games that he's come off the bench, he has come in well. Right, Boavista, he came in well. But again, like you said, I think it's a good problem to have.
Yeah.
Oscar, have you made a decision?
You can't have a player that goes, "Oh, I'm good off the bench, so I'm going to play for that." No, like if he's
but I
good off the
understand.
bench-
No, but
I
someone's
understand
gotta
what
do
Kenny's
it.
saying. I understand what Kenny's
someone's
saying,
gotta do it,
right? Because like
they all can start.
Rafa's one of those guys that like he needs to start the game and get into it. Oh, my watch is talking to me.
And I don't know. And I don't know if Geds came with anything in the contract that he has to play a certain amount of games because
I didn't hear anything about that.
So it's tough for Raja to decide this, and I think, and I'll be honest with you. I obviously I like Ramos. Ramos scores some unbelievable goals, and he's in form too. But if he goes a few games without scoring, I see Geds starting up top with Rafa right behind him.
And we've seen Roger play him there, right?
Yeah.
And Ramos was hurt, so.
But Raja likes Ramos. He's just
correct.
said he's impressed by Ramos. So I don't think that'll happen.
Correct.
So who do I see getting less pissed for sitting on the bench? It's like,
I mean, if you're just looking at the players,
I'm just sad, he looks like he's so fucking high.
I was about to say, you give Neres a pen. Give him a little pen on the bench. Hey, chill out for today. You're not playing. Relax.
He doesn't need someone to give him the pen.
He's like, all right.
He's permanently.
I don't think the locker room's like that. I think they all understand that.
I agree.
There's a bigger goal here. I don't think anyone's gonna be pissed. Like, hey, all right, I think Roger's got a good handle on the situation.
I think there's gonna be. I think he's already had the talks, but I think it's gonna be like a rotational type of thing. Like,
yeah,
we'll see Rafa come in for Geds or whatever next game, and then the game after that, Neres sits and Rafa and Geds start. And I think it's going to be
it's good competition.
I want to say one thing. Like I did say Rafa on the bench against Famalicão, but I think what Nick brings up, and if Rafa is in form, like he's on top, like the way he played last year and all that in the beginning of the season, no one takes him off the starting 11, in my opinion. I did say he sits on the bench for the Famalicão game just because like the way he's playing lately. He's not really that much in form, and I get it. He's not a player that come off, but like that's just how I would do it. But I would like to have them rotate, take a game, or like Gids starts on the bench this game. The next time Ned starts on the bench, like that, everyone just gets like a week, kind of like you play like half a game. You become more you're fresher legs towards the end of the season and all that. Not a lot of minutes on the legs. I think that's the best route to go, in my opinion.
I think with the situation we're in right now, since Rafa is not in form, I think he needs to be playing, right? Like with Neres, he needed to play to get back into form, right? And he was doing it well coming off the bench. But I agree with what Kenny and Mike said. I don't know if Rafa's one of those players that can come off the bench and give you an instant impact. I think he's a player that needs to grow into a game, and then like within 15 minutes of a game, he starts taking over and he's playing well. I mean,
we saw. I disagree. I think Rafa can come off the bench and be a spark.
He did it in the World Cup. He did it in the World Cup.
Especially being fresh in the speed that he has.
World Cup.
Euro.
I absolutely think he could be a spark off the bench. Absolutely.
I mean, he's got the characteristics, right? But he just, when you put them all up against each other, right? I agree with Kenny in the sense of like, Neres has shown us more of being able to come off the bench and have an impact, right? Whereas Rafa, I feel when I think back on games that he's had to come off the bench, and there aren't many, I feel like it's been more difficult, right? Like the one that comes to mind, and it's an unfair judgment because he had just come off an injury, is Braga, right? Like he looked completely lost out there, right? Even against Vizela, he didn't look that great when he came on, right? So it's just, I agree. I think there's certain players that are, their mindset is built for that type of player, and there are others that need to grow into the game and need to be part of it. And he doesn't strike me as one of those. Nick says, wait until Sheldrup starts to play, then we'll be spoiled for options.
Can I give you what if I get
it's
on
a
Rogers?
great problem to have.
If I get on Rogers' head right now for Famalicão, I start exactly same lineup I started against Vizela, which is with Ramos, Guedes, João Mario Neres, right? Because Rafa's still coming from form, and then obviously bring him in to get some minutes, and then against Bruges, start Rafa.
Start him.
Yeah, that's I think it's a way easier way to get Rafa back in 100% form is to give him a few minutes against Famalicão and then start him against Bruges. We're up 2-0 at home. I think it's a perfect scenario for Rafa to get the starting 11 and go back from there.
Fair. Before we talk the moments, I wanted to quickly touch on the Roger Schmidt situation. So he gets a red card. There was a lot. I don't know if you guys saw the videos and the pictures, but right. I think that's the case with most of the games that we play away up north. You're going to get a lot of Porto fans, right? Which is natural, right? Most fans follow one of the top three, and then they follow their local team. There was tons of pictures of Porto fans sitting in the stands behind our bench. There was rumors that there was a big presence of Super Dragões sitting behind Benfica's bench. There are, media outlets are claiming that he was heckled consistently throughout the game. They were throwing lighters at him, coins, and then and then they threw a water bottle, which the bottle didn't hit him, but the water hit him, and he went and picked up the bottle and didn't throw it directly. He just tossed it up in the air. The bottle was empty, and he naturally gets a red card. Walks off and does one of these 2-0 to the fans. Right? Completely out of character for him, right? From what we've seen. But then in the press conference after he comes out and says, listen, I gave into the pressure and I deserve the red card, right? He didn't come out and try to build this story, right? Like he just came out, assumed it and said, okay, whatever, hands up, I'm guilty. How do you guys see the situation, right? Like, I think he's sent off correctly. Right, but I'm of the opinion of if you're throwing shit in the stadium, you need to get kicked out. Right? Like there's only so much that you as a human, he's a human being. I get he's a professional, but there's only so much that you can there's a threshold, right? And if you're listening to it all game, eventually you're gonna break, right? And it's almost like one of those moments where we score that second goal and it's like, F you guys, right? Talk shit. We're up 2-0, right? And it just boils over. But curious to get your thoughts on what came of that situation. Now people the media are all over oh, Mr. Roger, he's such a nice guy, and look at him, he's just like everyone else. Curious to get you guys' thoughts on that situation. Kenny, did you end up seeing the video?
No, I've seen.
What are your thoughts on this?
I've read the comments. I'm okay with the whole situation. I think it's good for I wouldn't say good for soccer, but there's a little bit of a story there. There's not that we're rivals with them, but the whole story with the Porto fans in the stands and the heckling. I'm okay with the entire situation. I don't think that water balls should be thrown at the coaches or whatever, but it's harmless. It's part of that rivalry or whatever, and I'm totally.
But you see that happening here?
No, stop it, Kenny.
No chance.
I'm about to throw this
here.
Dude, it happens in basketball all the time, and they get.
It happened to Kyrie Irving last year in the playoffs.
And the fans get tossed.
What happened to that fan that tossed it?
Yeah, I'm not saying I'm saying it happens. I'm not saying I condone it. I'm okay with it. I don't think throwing popcorn on a player leaving a basketball game is that serious of a deal. I think they're a bunch of pussies in the basketball. But I get it. You're a spectator. Respect the players. Blah blah blah. Okay, fine. But personally, I don't think it's that big of a deal. It's just part of sports and rivalries and hatred towards your opponents and being a fan of a team. Like, you're not like jeopardizing the guy's career or anything. Like, he threw water at the coach, or he threw a water bottle.
You know how cold it was in Portugal that day?
Could have got a hypothermia.
Yeah.
He threw the bottle at the coach, and I'm totally okay. I'm not that like concerned about it, and I'm glad that he threw it back. Like, it just tit for tat. Like, I'm okay with that. That's my type of personality. I get it. Some people like, hey, you shouldn't do that. Oh, like, respect. But I'm not like that. Like, I'm okay with stuff like that, and I don't think it was a big deal. He deserved the red. Fine, take the punishment and move on. Like, I'm totally in for it because I like the theater of sports like that. Like, I think it builds on the whole situation.
I'm sure there's other opinions here. What do you think, Jay? Go ahead.
I agree with what Kenny said, but I don't think it's like, I don't think you should do it, right? Like, I think, like Oscar
and I
said,
think
like,
Kenny says I don't think Kenny thinks you should do it either. But
I like it.
He embraces it because it makes it a spectacle.
As far as the heckling and all that, I mean, you see that in all the sports. I think it kind of crosses the line when you start throwing lighters and you start throwing
when it gets
water
physical.
bottles or something to that nature. I think that's when it starts getting a little bit blown out of like, I don't think you should be able to do that. Roger's reaction, I thought it was perfect. He deserve the red? Yeah. But the 2-0 to the fans, I thought that was a way of him telling the fans, go fuck yourself. Like we won the game, and now we're going to go home with 3 points. I do agree with him getting the red, is like I said, but I enjoy that little emotion with the fans, and like Kenny says, it brings the best of, like, I don't know. I personally didn't mind it that much. I know Oscar. I was listening to the radio when this happened, and I was texting you guys. I was like, "What the hell happened?" And then I think
they didn't originally show it on TV. It ended up showing after.
And I think Oscar mentioned something about, don't be another JJ, this and that. And then when you saw the replay of him getting the stuff thrown at him, then you were like, okay, well, he was provoked. So
no, because what I saw was, I thought he got the red card, not because of the bottle, because I didn't see the bottle live.
Because it was showing a replay of the goal.
I saw him giving the 2 fingers and the 0, right? And that's why I said don't be a JJ, because JJ did it for Tottenham coach, right? So I'm like, don't be a JJ, because that's a prick, that's arrogant, and I don't like it, right? But when I saw the replay of the whole situation and saw that the bottle was thrown right by his ear, like, and the water spilt all over his back, whatever. That, like, you know what I mean? Like, I guarantee that you heard it all game, and it came to the news said it, that it was the whole game hackling at him, throwing coins, throwing isqueiros. So, like, obviously enough is enough. And then at the end, when he stands up to celebrate a second goal, there's a junto, they throw the water bottle. That's when it crosses the line, because it's physical harm. It's like, I get the bottle didn't hit him, but the bottle came this close to hitting his head. And the water hit him, right? So it's harmless. He's not going to go to the hospital because of that. But enough is enough, and people have a limit. And I think he got to his limit. When it crossed the line, and he did what he had to do. I mean, he didn't toss the bottle back at the fans. He tossed it up in the air. Yeah, he tossed it up in the air. So to me, it wasn't like he was trying to hit the fans back with a bottle. I wouldn't have given a red card, but me, like,
by the rules, you have to.
Sergio Conceição does this every single game. Does he get a red card every single game? No. George Jesus used to do this every single game. Did he get a red card? No. So, like, because Roger doesn't do anything, when he does something that's out of the ordinary, then he gets a red card. That's to me, it's bullshit. But whatever.
And to kind of, like, Roger in the beginning of the season was kind of like a robot, you know, like, he really didn't. He
still is like, he's so.
Yeah, that was the first time.
When they show him, he's always like stone-faced.
The last few games, he's been kind of showing more emotion, and I'm kind of liking this.
Well, he sees what's happening in the league.
Yeah.
And he's probably hearing more bullshit now too, especially with everything that's going on. So
I agree with what Oscar said. I think there's limits to what, as fans, you can do at a game, right? And heckling, chants, songs, whatever, like, calling them whatever you want, like, fine, right? Like, but there's a limit. Like, once you start tossing stuff at players and at coaches, then you've crossed that line. And it's unfortunate that, like, in Portugal, there's no repercussions for the fans. Like, they always talk about it, and, like, even if it's It doesn't matter what stadium. Like once you start throwing shit, like you got to get tossed, you got to get bans. Like that's how you keep the game clean, right? Like you don't have any of these situations where you're having a player run into the stands and karate kick a fan like Cantona was doing.
I mean, it happened in the NBA.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. Like,
it happens all the time. I mean, how many
Right.
players have gotten beer spilt all over them at games? Like it's just,
Right.
it's.
But I think, but the bigger
problem
difference
is like
is
here
the
when it
repercussion off the
happens,
fact of it, off the back of
yes.
it.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Right, like there's no right, and like I mentioned it in our WhatsApp group with some of the guys, and they were like, "Oh, there's not enough cameras." I'm like, "There's cameras in that stadium. It's a matter of do they want to do something
guy.
about it."
Right.
That's the difference, right?
And
And
the
I
thing
don't think we can't expect the game in Portugal to be clean in the field if it's not clean outside the field, and we all know that the game in Portugal is not clean outside the field.
Yeah, and like in Maro's interview, he was talking about like the product, the league as a product, right? To sell on to TV rights. No one's gonna buy TV rights to a game where you're having fans toss shit at coaches. Like they're not gonna put that out on their network.
Yeah.
But the thing that's also frustrating is like this, like at the luge, right? They have the flares and all that. We get fined. We go out.
Now
we
you can
do
get
flares.
jail time.
Right, we do. Right, but like if we go away, the club gets fined for the way the fans act. Is there anything going to come off the back of this for the Vizela fans? Because
I'm sure Vizela will get fined, but I agree.
Doubt.
I also think it's a stupid thing, right? It's not the club's fault that their fans act like idiots.
Or they're
Like,
supposed fans.
Right.
Yeah, it's
Other
isolated
fans.
incidents.
Correct. And Mauro was saying in another conversation, I think that on average, each club, or at least the top three, in fines and penalties throughout the season, pay like 3 million euros.
But like you know, like it's tough to like judge sometimes the fans too, because what if a Porto fan is wearing Benfica?
That's what I'm saying, right? It's not
or a Sporting fan wearing Benfica, like, and then they're the one that's causing and making us look like shit. Like,
correct.
I don't know. It's tough. To me, that's tough.
I think it's unfair. I want to quickly move on because we got about 10 minutes left. Joaninha, I almost said Joana dos Santos, but I'm so used to saying Joaninha, she threw me off with her YouTube account here. Who saw Rafa's new tats?
Is that
Are those real?
Instagram?
Yeah.
That he's
The one
like-
on his
like-
chest.
Trust issues. The one that I shared on our group.
I saw that.
That can't be real.
It is. People, if you look at the comments, the Benfica players are like roasting him.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's
dude, I think
becoming more and more weird. Like he's becoming like a weird fucking player to me. Like he gets in moods now. That's a weird fucking choice of a tattoo. I don't know. That's just
maybe he likes it.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
to
hope
each
he
their
likes
own.
it.
But
It's tattooed on his chest.
Let Rafa keep scoring goals. Who gives a shit what he does behind the scenes?
He's got trust issues.
I mean-
That's why he told Fernando Santos to go pound sand.
yeah,
Seriously.
he has trust issues. He should have trust issues with his tattoo artist.
Tiago says, "Boa noite, Maltinha. Boa noite, Tiago." Quickly, I want to run through the referee situations. Otamendi tackle. I'll open it up to whoever saw it and whoever wants to comment. Yellow card, correct decision, or do you guys think it should have been a red?
And I can. What do
I think
you
it was
who wants to
yellow.
start?
Go ahead.
To me, absolutely yellow. And I'll tell you why. People keep saying on social media that he was by Antonio Silva, and then Antonio Silva lost him. Dude,
He's
Antonio Silva slowed
Right
down
there.
because he saw
Yeah,
Otamendi
he's
coming
Otamendi.
across.
He's right
So
there.
as soon as Otamendi comes across, Antonio Silva is going to overlap him to go to cut the short side, right? So like people say, oh, once he smoked Antonio Silva, then the tackle should have been a direct because Antonio Silva never going to catch up with him. Are people blind? Did you not see that Antonio Silva slowed down for Otamendi to come across him?
And he's 30 yards from goal.
Or else they'll collide against each other. If Antonio Silva doesn't stop, they'll collide against each other, and then he goes by himself. Like, open up your eyes, guys. It's a yellow card. Antonio Silva has an overlap, and he's have him covered. So,
Bill, yellow card.
Yeah, I agree with Oscar said. I think if Tony's not there, I think it's a red. But the fact that there's another defender in the area, he's not the last man back. I think it's a clear yellow and move on.
I agree. Jay and Kenny, I'm assuming you didn't see the play.
No, but I agree with Oscar.
I agree
Boz
with Bill.
tackle. Boz tackle. Osmaic gets the shot off. Ba comes in. Really, really eager tackle. What do you guys think? Should it have been a pen or the right decision to not call it a pen?
I can start with this one too. All right. So So and I'm not being biased, all right? If it was against Benfica, I'd probably be crying for a penalty, all right? That's me, like, after analyzing it and kind of seeing the play over and over again. The guy kicks the ball to the moon, and then he gets tackled. All right. So if you guys think about the all right, if he doesn't get tackled, is there a goal or is there shooting on net? No, the ball gets shot to the moon, he miskicks it, and then Bach comes in like a fucking crazy asshole and it hits him, like, oh, he just bumps him out. Right. So to me, I get it. The ball, when the touch happens, the ball is still within the 4 lines. So that is what considered is still inside the game, and still at play. So it could be considered a PK. So if they call it PK, I would have been okay with it. But the tackle happened only after the ball was kicked. So to me, that's fine. Let it go.
The way you just described it, to me, should be a PK. Just the way you just described it. Just the way you just described it.
It was in the first half.
I didn't see it. So
if you think about this, when somebody goes
second half.
Think when somebody goes on net, right? Kicks the ball over the goalie. And the ball go completely out, but the goalie doesn't touch it, and it grabs only the player. But the ball's already been kicked. So they don't call those PKs because the ball's already gone, kicked outside of the goal. So I see it both ways.
I've seen it called.
And Biggie, look at Biggie coming out of the woodwork with his Biggie 508 account.
Biggie 508.
Ball was out before the foul.
If you want to use geometry, the ball is still inside the line.
I think the ball's still in the field. Yeah, the ball's still in the field. But I agree with Oscar, right? Like he doesn't affect his shot, right? It comes in after. Now, if they call a penalty, I'm not surprised, and I'm not upset about it. Because
I'm actually shocked they didn't.
Stupid tackle. But them not calling a penalty, I can also see that perspective as well. But again, if they call that penalty, I'm not like, that's ridiculous. It shouldn't have been a pen. It's a stupid timing. But again, I could see it both ways. But naturally, right, like you're going to see it your way. But I wouldn't have been surprised if they had called that a penalty because it's absolutely stupid. And I think he got away with one there. The Grimaldo penalty, I think, is an obvious.
That ball one, and just real quick, the way the VAR's been going, I'm surprised it wasn't given. Like, I'm shocked it wasn't given.
I thought they were definitely going to call it back.
It's good. Ricosta gave the other ref a good licking, a good speaking to the other day.
I thought for sure they were going to call that back. The Grimaldo penalty, I think, is an obvious one. I don't think there's any contesting that.
He's playing for it. He knows it's coming. He's waiting.
Correct. And the defender's an idiot, and he baited him and he fell for it. Yeah. MVP of the game. I'll go with Oscar and Bill since you guys didn't watch the full game. Oscar, who's your MVP?
Who else? It's big blank.
Big Johnny. He says it, and then he says it, then censors himself. It's Big Dick.
Blur it.
You got to beep that one out. Bill, same.
Yeah, I agree. I think his performance plus the 2 goals, easy.
Yeah, I don't think the team played well in general, but 2 big goals again, steps up, puts it away. 3 important points. Big weekend.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
So I'm just looking at some of the highlights here. I don't have the full extended highlights, but a few of the ones that I'm seeing, like Odie had some pretty big saves.
Yeah,
the one he saved twice. Not twice. He hit the crossbar.
He didn't save that. He didn't save the one on the post.
It hit his toe or hit the post.
No, he hits the post.
Oh, it doesn't? Because it looks like it hits his foot.
I thought the same thing. I was like, dude, what a save. And then if you watch the replay, it goes straight to the post.
But there was one in the first half too,
almost,
like he puts his leg down. I mean, he's been
that's the first one that they could have gone up. Like when we missed those first 2, and then they had a breakaway and he saved with his foot. But the thing is, that one of the hits both the crossbar and the post.
The guy's offside.
I was told the guy was offside.
The guy's offside.
That would have been like basically taken back. But
well, we would have hoped.
Yeah, I think.
Hey, did you get to the highlight where it showed the PK?
What'd you say?
No, I said, can you get to the highlight where it showed the PK?
I don't know if it'll be on the highlight.
No, it's not. It's not. It wasn't on that one. No,
because it wasn't even a shot on goal.
I'll say this: I am a defender of all these saves. I don't know. I think I'm in the minority, but I feel like in a lot of games he has come up huge with some shot blocks that just. I mean, he's kept up in some games. I know he makes his mistakes, but I think he's been a a very good player for us this year.
And at the end, before the PK was called in our favor, I think he had one save that he came out big too, right? It was like big saves that kept us in the game because right there we were up 1-0. It was like close to the 90 minutes.
And I wouldn't trust anyone else right now in that.
No.
I mean, obviously,
you only have kids behind
You
them
have
now.
2 kids on the bench, yeah. So
yeah.
Would
you still say, Oscar, that Diogo Costa still the best goalkeeper in Portugal?
Diogo Costa?
I think that's a no-brainer.
No, I say so. Why wouldn't I say so? I mean, he's the guy saves more PKs than I can take. Like the guy, he's been coming massive. I mean, he has a few mistakes, but
he's
so
young.
does everybody. He's young. I think he's massive. Porto sucks this year, and if Porto's still in this fight, is
thank him.
a lot to thank him.
100%. I think hands down he's the best keeper in Portugal. Like, it's not even debatable. Adan was good the year that Sporting won the title, but he's come back down to earth and he's shown his true colors. He's made some stupid mistakes, but I think, in my opinion, hands down, Costa is by far the best keeper in Portugal, and I would easily put him in the top 7 to 10 in the world. I think he's really stepped up.
Well, he only looks like a shady fuck when he plays for Portugal, but other than that, he's good.
Yeah, he makes bad decisions. Quickly, we're running out of time here. We did the man of the match. Quickly, I want to touch on the Gala. 119 years. We see some legends come back to the club. Ep132 was there for the first time. We haven't seen him associated to the club in a long time. Rafa won Men's Player of the Year. Kike won Women's Player of the Year. Benfica had a moment there to remember Shelana. Humberto Coelho got an award, and all of the legends went up on stage. Carlos Manuel Diamantino was there. Vitor Pineda was there. There was a bunch of people past and more present that were there, which was good to see. But I wanted to quickly get you guys' thoughts on 2 things here. 2 questions. I don't know if it's because we don't see it and we're not so closely associated to the other clubs and the rivals, but it seems to me like the perception that I get from the outside, and I think we all are pretty close to the Portuguese media and what goes on around other clubs. But of the top 3, I feel like Benfica is one of, if not the only one, that really keeps the legends closer to the club, right? Like Porto does to some extent. Vitor B is there. Folha is coaching the youth team. Rui Barros was there, right? But like, I feel like Benfica takes it to a next level. And then like Sporting, you don't see many legends that like come back to the club or stay associated to the club. Like, do you guys think there's a value there? And whoever wants to go.
Yeah, I think you have to honor your past, right? Like those guys are all part of what we like to call the Mística, right? They went through it. They won the titles. They're part of the glory years, and I think the club has the means to be able to invite them back and keep them around and have them on their like pre-match shows and have them go to games. I mean, I think it does well, and it's from like a PR perspective too. I think it's a nice like marketing thing, right? Like, we take care of our own, right? These guys were at the club some of them were at the club in the dark years, right? When we fucking were shit, right?
We sucked.
Right. And we're doing well to have them come back and keep them around. And I think it's a nice thing to do.
Vespa do Eliseu. Hell of a comment. What legends for Sporting Portugal?
I was about to say that. I mean, is Hugo Viana considered a legend? Because
I mean, they have. Let's be in all honesty, they have. I mean, they have quite a few, right? They had. I mean, they had quite a few legends that came out of their academy. But like I'm saying, right?
More
Like,
Benfica than Sporting.
but how many? But how many of them do you see coming back? Like, that's the thing that I find odd, Kenny.
They come back and play for other teams, pretty much.
Yeah. But do you think there's value there for Benfica? Like, and is your perception the same as mine, or is it just me?
No. I love it, and I think it is valuable. I think it's valuable because it keeps our story, like Bill said, it builds that mística, right? We talk about it, we know it because we are Portuguese. But I think like when you see the players, the estrangeiros that are there at the Gala, and they're watching all this, I think it gives them also another sense of like how big the club is, right? I think everyone coming to Benfica from the outside knows how big Portugal is Benfica is within Portugal. But then you see the Gala and all the other stuff that goes around, and when we travel to France and you see the fan base there, and it just keeps building and building and building. I think it helps us because look, we don't have the same type of resources like other big clubs do, and I think what we do have is how big we are in Portugal, even though Portugal's small, but also that rich history and how close we are with the stars of the team, whether they are Portuguese or they're from the outside. I mean, I think it's super critical for building our brand in the history for the club, and I think it's important.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree with everything that you guys said.
Oscar, you look like you're taking notes over there. Do you have something to say?
It's ready.
About what this Mística?
Yeah, the value of this.
Like I mean, obviously I watch Benfica's. I know Porto has a gala during the years. I don't even know Sporting has a gala on the anniversary.
I mean, I know
don't know.
Porto's is, I think, the Dragão de Ouro or something like that. Like those
Yeah.
are their
Porto
awards.
has the Galo, no? The Galo.
The gala, yeah. That's the Arroz de Gala.
Oh, burn!
Don't
Got
say it,
him.
man. Last time.
What is it? Binda Festa?
Yeah,
Binda
last time,
Festa.
last time that fucker came out with that video, nós fomos à festa depois.
Yeah, fomos.
E vieram outra vez, só que não tiveram a mesma festa.
Yeah, seriously.
But I mean, I love what like this yearly thing. It gets the players together. It gets all the teams, the modalidades all together in one room. Everybody shows respect for each other. I think you saw the Fernando's speech where he thanked all the modalidades. He was, it feels like the team is a family, and it's good to see. It brings us together as Benfica fans, and it's great. It's great to see, and I hope they never stop this tradition.
I agree. Juanina says, when is the Cantinho going to get us to the gala? It's funny. Somebody commented on our video yesterday and said, why wasn't Cantinho invited to the gala? I made sure that we let Mauro know. Maybe we get an invitation next year. Mm-hmm. Nick says, I can't remember Porto honoring Paulo Futre off the top of my head, for example. Yeah, again, and this could be a perception of us because we're so closely tied to Benfica, but I think we all follow the Portuguese press enough. And again, Porto, I think, is the closest in terms of having legends be part of their fabric. But I think Sporting, of the top three, I think is way off in terms of and again, they're not at the top. I'm going to say it. They're not a top club, right? Like in comparison to Benfica and Porto. So maybe those legends don't want to be associated to the club after the fact. I don't know, but it's just a perception of mine. We've run out of time. We had a couple of other topics, but quickly, 30 seconds. I'm going to go around the table here. On the 119th anniversary, I want you to give me, if I ask you quickly, what's a moment that stands out to you, a positive moment that stands out to you from Benfica in your lifetime? What comes to mind straight away? I'm going to go Oscar.
The fuck? I didn't let me time to think.
I knew.
I'll go.
Go.
6-3 in Avalanche.
I knew you were going to say that.
First half. That's my favorite memory.
All right. That's the one that comes to your brain. Bill, first moment that comes to your brain.
Someone
says Benfica. Someone says Benfica.
Jogo da Bessa Trapattoni, for us, that was our first title, that I can remember. That instant. That's when you get the bug of, all right, we're campeões, we can fucking celebrate finally.
Okay, Kenny.
My first thing is my first game at the Stadio Luz. Actually, Oscar's part of that memory. We were there to get. Well, it was my first game. Eusébio Cup, AC Milan. Yeah, that was my first memory. King was in net, big saves. So yeah.
To me, and not to steal your thunder, Kenny, because this is my favorite moment of all time. The first time I saw the eagle come across the whole stadium, and that was at that game. So he took my thunder. But it was at the game, started to lose, packed.
They were holding hands.
Eusébio Cup, the stadium was completely packed. And the fucking eagle comes flying right by us. And
Ronaldinho
was. I'm sure they have selfies together too.
And Ronaldinho was there.
Dude, it was a sick game.
My sister was a Porto fan, and she clapped. She could not sit down for that. So to get her to clap for Benfica is my brightest time of my life.
I forget what year it was. I think it was 2009, 10.
That was against AC Milan, right?
It was AC Milan. It was Ronaldinho. Yeah.
Let's see some of these comments quickly. Biggie says Sporting peaks once every 20 years. Vespa says 6-3. Juaninha and Vespa thinks that cute and special that you guys share a moment. Nick says the Eusebio game beating the shit out of Porto 2-0. We all watched that at my house in Upton.
Garay score or Eusebio score?
Garay scored the header and
Rodrigo.
It was Eusebio scoring.
Rodrigo
It was
did that.
Eusebio.
Yeah.
To me, it was Eusebio. They both in the back shirt. It was Eusebio.
And Markovic torched Porto and then played that through ball to Rodrigo. My moment, I have a lot of moments. I followed Benfica through those dark years very early on, and I have a lot of negative moments, but I would say the first positive moment for me, I think, is like Bill said, the game against Boa Vista. I watched it. I was with Jay that day. I don't know if you remember Jay at Mikey's house.
Yeah.
Jay still had the blue Tibber on. We went to the Portuguese club and people were so drunk and they were fighting each other. Do you remember that fight at the club, Jay?
Yeah, I do remember.
Was it Jonas' goal?
No, that was Simon. We tied 1-1, the penalty, 2004 with Trapattoni. Yeah. But I'll never forget that game.
We went to the club and then we celebrated there. When we got there, there was already a fight.
Yeah. We won't mention any names, but they're like related and stuff. It was crazy. Like they were fighting each other, punching walls. We were like, what the hell's going on?
Are they from Marcos?
I will nor confirm nor deny.
No name.
Junior says Benfica beating Porto at home this year. Watching Benfica beat Porto at home. Oh, she's saying the future already. Or are you saying Benfica when we beat them at their home?
At Porto, because she was at the game.
Oh, Nuno Gomes was 2 goals. Oh, no, that's not a different game, right?
When he got headbutted by Bruno Alves.
Yeah.
All right, we're at our cap. I want to finish off here. First, thank you for those tuning in. Don't forget to check us out on social media. Like, share, subscribe. Again, it doesn't cost you anything. It takes you 10 seconds. Joining you says Oscar wants the tea. He always wants the tea. Biggie says 4-4 Leverkusen classic game to make it to the semis of UEFA Cup. Rui Costa scored. That was an epic game.
Yeah, Biggie was like 30 years old.
Yeah. He was already shaving. I want to end with a clip from yesterday's gala from our legendary José Augusto. Again, those of you tuning in, thank you for checking us out. We'll be back next week. And boys, as always, a pleasure. And let's listen to a little bit of José Augusto here.
Parece que o nosso Augusto queria dizer uma palavra só. 2. Não, peraí. 3 palavras. 3, bora.
A todos os benfiquistas.
Isso é muita palavra. Isso é muita palavra. Qual era a
Benfica!
Yeah!
Viva Benfica, boys. Good night. We'll be back next week.
Later, boys.
Yeah.